Today's episode is sponsored by the NBA and their quest to advance the game of basketball, grow the community, and impact culture. The league celebrates its teams, players, and fans across the past, present, and future as part of its 75th anniversary season. That's Game highlights pivotal moments on court and beyond, from iconic plays in arenas to the impact players have in the community. That's NBA. That's Game. Like in the NBA Finals, when the Bucks had their back against the wall, Jrue Holiday steals the ball, pushes the break, alley-oop to Giannis for an iconic slam, seals Game 5 and the eventual title. That's the NBA. That's Game. This is more than just basketball. It's what connects us all and keeps us coming back for more. That's the NBA. That's Game. What's up? Welcome in. How about it, Adam Jahns? Justin Fields, he's here.
Put him in the Hall of Fame, Adam. Just put him there. Just why wait? That's all I needed to see was 2 quarters, right? Second and third quarters of this preseason game against the Dolphins. That's enough for me. Put him in the Hall of Fame.
Wow, just like that.
You know I'm kidding.
Yeah, just like we were the other day. But hey, this is what we talked about, right? We talked about stacking these days together. That's what Matt Nagy, Justin Fields were talking about after the game. But we both did not want to overreact too much from that practice on Thursday. We said, hey, let's see how it translates over to the game on Saturday. And Justin Fields, after a little bit of a shaky start, turned it on and looked pretty darn good here at Soldier Field. If you're watching on YouTube, you could see us. How about this setup for the first time after a game as we're adapting to, things kind of getting back to normal. There are fans here in the stands. Now we're doing this podcast on video on YouTube. So I'm down on the field. Johnsy's got Papa Bear behind him in some room upstairs. You're also inside Soldier Field.
Just be careful with those sprinklers behind you. They're getting awfully close to you. Although that would make for a great clip if that one comes around and whacks you in the back. I'm all for that, actually.
I already got one warning shot. They're setting up for, I think, a Chicago Fire play here, like within 24 hours. So they're already setting up for that and trying to do the transition. But, all right, let's talk about this game. Johnsy, I mean, there's really nothing to say about the first team offense. Andy Dalton barely played. This was about Justin Fields. And for a long time in the first half, it was like, are we ever going to see Justin Fields? Because the offense only managed 6 plays in the first quarter with Andy Dalton. The defense couldn't get off the field. And so the time of possession, the total plays, it was all skewed towards the Miami Dolphins. And finally, Justin gets in there. But I think with like 4.5 minutes left in the second quarter, he had still only thrown 2 passes, and they were both checkdowns. So and then when he had another opportunity, things were just shaky. And he has that fumble. He loses the ball. And I was starting to worry, are things just a little too fast out there for him? It seemed like the operation getting it out of the huddle was a little bit choppy. And then they get, with 40 seconds left in the second quarter, they get to run a very quick 2-minute type drive. And Justin moves the ball. He settles down 5 of 6, 42 yards. And they get in position for a Cairo Santos 53-yard field goal, which he makes. And from that point on, the dude was outstanding.
He just played football. That final 40 seconds there. It wasn't anything amazing down the field. The Dolphins were going to prevent those down the field passes. He took what the defense gave him, bought some extra time with his legs, and just looked efficient. You weren't going for touchdowns in this situation. You're going for that long field goal, and he got Cairo Santos into his range. So that's a win, a big win, I think, for Justin Fields. Because let's be honest, the offense didn't look good at first with him, and I don't think it's all his fault, really. They were backed up. You have Javon Wims offsides. Then you have, Elijah Wilkinson offsides. So not a good start for the entire offense, not just for Justin Fields, but that's fine. That's what the preseason is all about, to get all of those problems out of your system, to experience those problems to begin with, and then respond to those problems. And we saw Justin Fields do that after halftime.
There's a low snap in there too. It altogether did not look that great. Sometimes you wonder with the false starts, are they on the quarterback? Does it have to do with the cadence?
Yeah, false starts. What did I say? Offsides? Yeah, false starts. 2 of them.
Yeah, you thought Justin Fields was playing defense. That's fine. He could probably do that too. He showed off the speed today. Here's what I loved after the game. And we walked out of that press conference, and I think I said to you, he just has it. He is it. It's just the way he answers some of those questions, the confidence, specifically being asked how the speed of the game was. tweeted it out. I think some people, sometimes context on Twitter isn't great. I think some people are taking his comment maybe the wrong way, with him saying that he actually thought the game was slow today. He was just answering a question honestly. I don't think he was like trying to take shots at anybody, but maybe that's how it's coming off on Twitter a little bit. I just love that he said that. I think he showed that with his play. Yes, he's facing backups, and it's going to be even faster whenever he gets his opportunity to play in the regular season, Johnsy. But I just love the fact that the way he played and the way he talked after the game, that jump, it's still a jump. It's still a jump from the Big Ten to whatever competition he faced here today. And I don't know if you noticed a couple times when he took off with the ball, including one time he scored, he was the fastest guy in the field. So I think mentally and physically, the game was not too fast for him today. And again, for one game, all we can do is evaluate today. He passes that test.
Well, he's playing against backups, but he's with backups, and he's been with backups since the start of training camp. He's excelling with them. We saw it the other day at Hallis on Thursday, where he was the best player on the field. That's what you want the 11th overall pick to look like. You want him to be the best player in the field. And let's be honest, sometimes these guys taken in the first round, regardless of position, don't look that way. We know that well by now, covering Mitch Trubisky. I think you're seeing some of that play out in New York with Zach Wilson. Justin Fields in the third quarter had one incompletion that should have been caught, by the way, and he was the best player by far on the field. That is a good sign, in my opinion. I'm not trying to make too much out of it, but you want the 11th overall pick, your future franchise quarterback, to look that way. And he did everything you wanted him to do in that third quarter.
Yeah, so let's talk about some specifics. Kind of back the fact up that I don't think we're overreacting here. I think that, I don't necessarily off the top of my head remember. Look, Mitch's numbers were really good in his first preseason game. We talked about that coming into this one. He also lit up the Broncos that night at Soldier Field in his debut. I don't necessarily remember the specifics of what he did, but some of the things that all I can do from today's game that I think do translate, that carry some weight to me at least, is when you look at, and it started on that 40-second drive before halftime, the way he went through his progressions. And Nagy talked after the game so much about how calm he was, and you could see his eyes manipulating the defense when he found Justin Hardy for 15 yards. And it was really the end zone angle behind him where you could see how the one in front of him where you could see how his eyes were moving, but then on the one behind him, how he really held the defender off because he was looking off to the side, and then he just kind of came back and zipped it right over the middle to Justin Hardy. That was a much harder throw than it looked live in the moment when he made the throw. And so I thought that was an example that translated. I thought that the scrambling touchdown, his first read on that play is to Jesse James, who falls down as he's going into his break to cut out, I think, on what would have been a corner route. He falls and slips. Justin immediately gets off it, and almost at the same exact time, he's getting backside pressure from behind him, and he just feels it. It's behind him. It's like he has eyes in the back of his head. He feels that pressure. And it was, I forget who asked the question in the post-game press conference, but it was actually a really good observation that a lot of times you'll see guys, if the pressure's coming from the left, they'll start just sort of wandering out to the right. They'll just start to run away from it. And Justin hung in there, and he just sort of took a sidestep and instead went the other way. And he talked about how he knew there was man coverage, and so he knew no one was on him. So as soon as he got outside the pocket to his left, once that pressure went by him, it was just him in the end zone, and he had the speed to beat the whole defense there. So these are just a couple examples of plays that I think are both examples of things he can do that the other quarterbacks can't on this roster, especially when we talk about the mobility and the speed, but also just that it factor again, the instincts. And I thought those were on display as well. And those are the things you can't really teach. You just sort of see it and you know it, like we talked about on Thursday's episode.
You could see what he meant by the game felt slow to him. It's those out-of-pocket throws where he's on the run, almost directing traffic, where he's pulling defenders away from receivers and man coverage, where the defender now has to account for him. Like Justin Fields was not intimidated by that whatsoever. He did not panic when that defender came off and on him, where he just lofts the pass over the defender who allowed the free receiver to run down the field. You saw that come to fruition today. You saw the calmness. You saw the poise. You saw the slowness And that's a good word in this sense. You saw the slowness of the game for him. And again, I feel like we need to continue to clarify this. We're not making too much out of this game, but you see some of the things that we have seen throughout training camp. Now you saw it more on the move, you saw it more in live action, but some of the stuff, the poise, the calmness, the throws that are just natural talent that we saw in camp, whether it be against the Dolphins or against the Bears starters, where you saw some of that today against the Dolphins in a live full game where Justin Fields could be actually hit.
And then, even the throw to Jesse James was just a wide open play. You could say, oh, it's a busted coverage. I mean, first of all, the play's designed to be a busted coverage. It's a wide throwback. It requires play action and a boot. So you need to have a mobile quarterback to do it. Andy Dalton can probably run that play. I have a feeling we're going to see that play again. It's a really good red zone goal line type play. The Bears ran it in the middle of the field, and it's designed to sneak or leak the tight end, the wide tight end from the right side, left side, whichever side you're going to run it, right to left to right, depending on what hash you're on. But the play worked perfectly. So it's coaching, it's the design, but it also takes the quarterback executing a good fake, the offensive line selling the run, and Jesse James in this situation being that tight end to carry out his fake too, which is to make it look like he's blocking and then just sort of slip out. And then the guy's wide open. How many times we see that last quarterback miss wide open throws, the layups like we talked about? Now, I don't want to bring Mitch into it and slander him. That guy was, it was so wide open, he would have made the throw too. But it was still there and in stride, and Jesse James is able to backpedal right into the end zone because he was able to make the play so easily. So
you almost backed into the end zone right there. I saw you try it.
I'm trying. I got the end zone behind me. Look, so I don't want to overrate that play because he's wide open, but it's still the execution. It's the stuff you take it from the practice field to the game field, and just another example today. So it was all there, and you don't overreact. You take it as another test that was passed, and now let's see if you can build on it in what will be week 2 of the preseason.
So we talked before this game, like if he plays well, what do you want to see change, or like what's next for him? Mm-hmm. So what I said in that podcast was I want to see him play with the starters, maybe against more of the starters as well. Now, we've seen Justin Fields play with the twos against the Bears' first-team defense. Now, they're not all in there because of various injuries, but I'm at this point now, clearly at this point where it's time to see him more with Allen Robinson. It's time to see him more with Cole Kmet. I'm not talking about a full practice with him. I'm talking about sprinkling in a few snaps here or there in certain situations just to see what they can do. It's more than just the after practice work that these guys are doing with him too. It's time to see them in 7-on-7s. It's time to see them in certain situational drills, red zone, whatever. It's time to see more tests for Justin Fields from Matt Nagy in practice starting on Monday.
Yeah, and I think it's going to have to come in practice because I don't think that, unless the Bears want to make some drastic major decision this week. I mean, we're talking about Andy Dalton starting again against the Bills.
Playing a little bit more, probably playing a little bit
more. And by the time you get him in there playing more, you're not going to want to have Allen Robinson on the field any more than that. So I think that those reps will have to come in practice. We've seen them here and there with guys like Darnell Mooney, though, at times. Cole Kmet. Can you remember a throw between Fields and Allen Robinson yet? I don't off the top of my head.
In team drills, I have zero.
Yeah, so we've seen them occasionally with some of the other guys, but you're right. I mean, I think that eventually that needs to happen. Also, I think Allen Robinson's so good and that, if he doesn't get any preseason reps with Justin Fields and then they make the move to Justin Fields in week 1 and on Sunday Night Football in LA, they're playing together, I think they're going to be okay because there were a couple throws today, by the way. There was at least one drop and there was another deeper throw to the far sideline that went incomplete, but I thought it was a good ball by Justin. And all I could think about there, because was that to Rodney Adams or Hardy? I forget. But
one of Fields' first throws down the right sideline.
Yeah.
One, the corner, kind of the 7 route. Yeah.
And all I'm thinking there is, man, if that's Allen Robinson running that route, or maybe even Darnell Mooney, it's probably a catch. But there just wasn't enough separation.
To me, it's like you're trying so hard to not get carried away with this. I think I've clarified it a couple of times, but I felt Matt Nagy like opened the door for conversations to be had this week. Did he not? When he keeps talking about stacking practices, that's his new thing.
You're talking about the press conference today?
Yes, the press conference after this game.
Yes,
when he's talking about like he did not shut the door. I felt like he opened the door up a little bit more for not where Justin Fields is your starting quarterback on Monday, but where this conversation has to be had. Like if he continues to stack days and the buzz continues to build, not just outside with you and I in the stands with fans and stuff like that, but in the building, because that buzz is there too. It's there. What Rodney Adams called him today, a natural. It's after what Damian Williams said about getting behind the guy. Like this buzz is building in that locker room. Matt Nagy is well aware of that. And I felt like Matt Nagy opened the door a little bit for conversations to be had if Justin Fields continues to have good days. Now, those good days have to come with more tests. That's where I'm at now with this. Like Matt Nagy has to test this rookie a bit more, play him with the starters against more starters, do different things with them, because that's where this has to go. It has to go that way.
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that same thing during the press conference as he was talking. And, I think you could say he opened the door. Maybe how I would put it is he sure as hell didn't close the door. He could have continued to kind of sidestep the questions, make it more general about the offense, and then say, unquestionably, Andy Dalton's still our guy. He left the door open to that talk, and it's almost like he wanted to do that. Like it was strategic, because if you're the head coach and you're the guy that fell in love with Justin Fields before the draft, and this today, and I also asked him about these 3 practices as a whole. Yeah, 2 practices in this game, the 3 days against the Dolphins, and he progressively, Justin now got better each day, and what that meant. And Matt talked about how the speed and the game being live today, stacking those together, like it does mean something. And so I think if you're the coach, you want to keep that confidence going. You want to see that swagger that they keep talking about, and him saying, the game wasn't too fast for me. In fact, it was kind of slow. Like you want to keep that momentum building. So I thought Matt did a good job today of keeping that door open. Let's put it this way. I think it's definitely a possibility. I would say it's still more likely Andy Dalton's the starter, but I do think that there's the chances of the switch to Justin Fields before the season even begins, it increased slightly today. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, what Nagy is saying should be a message to Andy Dalton too. You got to start stacking some good days together.
But it's also unfair when he doesn't really get a chance today.
I know. Well, to be fair, he had a chance. He had 2 drives. Yeah. I know it was only 6 plays and everything was a bit vanilla, but there's a couple throws in there. Complete them.
And they're both in the tight coverage.
Yeah, and that's fine. But it's also in practice. It's also those Dolphins practices. Like Andy Dalton did nothing to overly impress me in those games or in those practices. Maybe he was a bit consistent at times, but there was some bad drills, man. Like even Matt Nagy mentioned it again. That 2-minute drill that the first team offense had on Wednesday against the Dolphins was horrendous, and it's still sticking with Matt Nagy a few days later. That's still there. They had a couple awful team drills on Thursday too. First team offense, Andy Dalton. I'm just like on Monday, like Andy Dalton should come in. Like he's got to start stacking good practices too. Like Justin Fields is stacking good days, and he's coming for that job. That poise, that everything that we saw today, like all of that is coming for Andy Dalton's job. And can he lose? Here's a scenario for you. What if Andy Dalton in the quarter and a half, maybe first half he gets against the Bills, like completes half his passes, has a near pick, maybe has a pick, maybe has 1 touchdown, but it's not an overly impressive game where some of the, like he has one consistent drive and the next drive's kind of bad. And you're just feeling dissatisfied with his play. Like how open is that door then?
And it's with the first team offense, right?
Yes, your best
and
players.
Ultimately, and I made this point on Thursday, like whoever it is playing with the first team offense, you got to score points against the Rams. You got to find a way to move the ball against Aaron Donald. So if it is Andy Dalton struggling, once that happens next week, so they're playing the Bills and he gets more time and it doesn't look good, then yeah, absolutely that matters.
And you got your first team tight end in Jimmy Graham, Hall of Fame career, who's played with some of the best quarterbacks of all time, comparing him to Russell Wilson, comparing Justin Fields to Russell Wilson.
And that was at the beginning of camp.
Yes. And he's not even playing with him much, but it's just the vibe he's getting, stuff he's seeing. And he's bigger than Russell Wilson. Let's just like just in terms of physical size. Yes.
Yeah, but he's at least, 4 inches taller than him?
Yes. And then he had on a few pounds. And it's just that type of stuff is building in the Bears locker room. It's there. And it's probably an unwinnable situation for Andy Dalton. And I think he's actually handled it all quite well. But his press conference today, man, was 2.5 minutes.
It was awkward.
Justin Fields was like quadruple that. And this is not going to get any easier for Andy Dalton. He's going to have to perform at practice. He's going to have to perform against the Bills because I don't know if he's going to play in the final third preseason game. I don't think that's going to be a big game for the starters or any of your best players, but things change, man. Players make plays and things change. So, Russell Wilson, I believe that was his situation too in Seattle, right? They didn't want to play him. Then eventually they just turned to him and he did okay, I would say, in his first year in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it worked out. I think it worked out even better in year 2.
Oh man, I think we're getting carried away here.
This episode of Hoge and Jahns is brought to you by Element, a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt, not sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. With none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. And this time of year, with all these football practices in the hot sun, early in the morning, later in the day, for me, staying hydrated is so important. And I love Element. I use it to keep me hydrated, getting through all of these long summer days, which I also love because it's football season, but Element is crucial. You can try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, share it with a salty friend and we'll give you your money back, no questions asked. And as a member of our community, Element has a very special offer for you. You can claim your free Element sample pack. You only have to cover the cost of shipping. Get yours here, drinkelement.com/Hoge and Jahns. That's drinkelement.com/Hoge and Jahns, spelled LMNT. drinklmnt.com/Hoge and Jahns. This episode is brought to you by Brooklinen. It's still summer, it's still hot, and that's where Brooklinen comes in. You got to get rid of those hot winter sheets and get those easy, breezy comfort sheets for the season from Brooklinen. You want high-quality sheets, towels, loungewear, and so much more. Brooklinen has it. All this high-quality, luxury-grade comfort without the luxury price tags. It's no wonder why Brooklinen's got over 75,000 five-star reviews and counting. So go on, get summer ready with quality comfort and get it for less at Brooklinen. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code ADAM to get $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's Brooklinen, BROOKLINEN.com. Enter the promo code ADAM for $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's brooklinen.com, promo code ADAM.
CBD isn't about what you feel, it's about what you don't feel. Stress, anxiety, pain. It can also help with sleeplessness. It's what I use it for, and it's why it's great to have Feels. Feels is a better way to feel better. Feels is a premium CBD that will help you keep your head clear and feel your best. It's hassle-free and delivered directly to your door. CBD naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness. That's me. There's no hangover or addiction. Place a few drops of Feels under your tongue and feel the difference within minutes. The thing to remember about CBD is that finding your right dose is important, and everyone's dose is different. In fact, Feels offers offers a free CB hotline to help guide your personal experience so that you can find the perfect dose. Joining the Feels monthly membership makes your self-care easy. You'll save money in every order and you can pause or cancel at any time. Start feeling better with Feels. Become a member today by going to feels.com/Adam and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's FEALS.com/Adam to become a member and get 50% off automatically your first order with free shipping. Feels.com/Adam.
This episode is brought to you by Rise, a science-based app that makes it easy to improve your sleep to increase your daily energy. This time of year, not a lot of sleep is happening. Usually early mornings, got morning walkthroughs, got Bears practices, got places to be, and it's tough. But you can become a morning person, and don't worry, you don't have to stop using your phone before bed, and you can do it without buying a new mattress, supplements, or weighted blanket. Rise uses a scientific, fact-based approach to help you get the sleep your body needs. Every morning, Rise tells you how long you'll be groggy, when your peak focus time will be, and when you should start winding down for better sleep and more energy the next day. Rise helps you realize your potential with real results, real productivity, real performance, and real well-being. Go to risescience.com/Adams and download the Rise app today to try it free for 7 days. Most Rise users feel the benefits in just 5 days, so try it today to learn more about your sleep and energy levels, plus feel better, all for free during the trial. Whether you want to become a morning person, be less exhausted during the day, or improve your productivity and daily energy, Rise is the power behind your next best day. That's risescience.com/Adams to try the Rise app free for 7 days.
All right, let's get to some things in the that I have written down in the notebook. Some very important items that we have to knock out. Of course, the Brian Johnson field goal. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Here's some things. I don't.
He did it. I can't believe he did it.
I don't think that they were taking like prop bets on this game. I actually checked a couple places, but like there's two things that if I had put some money down on like prop bets in this game, one would have been a Brian Johnson field goal, which would have cashed. The other was a Jesse James tight end or touchdown. Because just like kind of looking at him in practice and knowing how much he was going to play in this game, it was like, come on, that's going to happen too. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, these are things that we should start predicting in our podcast. And we kind of do, and then they happen. So the Brian Johnson thing, really important. We had to make sure we mentioned that. And then we got a Ladarius Mack play as well for our man, Kevin Fishbane.
I love how that like people are tweeting at Kevin about that now.
Yeah, during the game we got
So I'm sitting next to my seat's right next to his in the press box, and then Ladarius Mack made us, I think it was a tackle just on special teams. I go, hey, did you see that? Put that down in your notebook, and he was none too pleased. So continue to tweet at him about Ladarius Mack, please.
Yes, it's a
special
good
teams.
running back.
Speaking of special teams, they need a few things cleaned up. Now they had a lot of the reserves out there, especially in the first punt coverage unit. I made note of that, but they need to figure a few things out there. Maybe that comes with some personnel changes, but that was different. And Jordan Lucas as your kick returner without any really return experience whatsoever.
Yeah, that was just weird. I don't know. In general, special teams not that great today. You guys give me crap about, writing and talking about special teams, but they actually are replacing Cordell Patterson and Sherrick McMahon as two of the best to do it, especially two of the best punt gunners. And I don't know if you saw the punt coverage today, but it was not good. So that's actually a concern of mine going into the regular season. Field position is huge. And especially, I'd say it's even more important if you're going to be Andy Dalton in there. Like, you better be winning the field position game. You better be playing lights out defense. If you make the switch to Justin, maybe he can bail you out of some of that. But I think, especially if you're really planning on trying to beat the Rams with Andy Dalton in week 1, you better be playing much better special teams than we saw today in this preseason game.
I would say just based on what we saw in practice compared to what we saw today, it seems like Chris Tabor, the Bears special teams coordinator, was experimenting with a few things, or at least challenging guys in live football. That sure. Includes Lucas as a punt returner. He's never returned punts in the NFL. I think he has one before this game.
Yeah, and that's why they were taking those kicks out too. I mean, some of those kicks were deep in the end zone. You're probably taking those as touchbacks in the regular season, but you can't evaluate kick returns tape if you're just taking touchbacks, and there's no tape to look at. So that's part of why that was going on. But yeah, good point by you to bring that up. And the one serious thing that we do need to talk about is as this game ended, it came out that the Bears are signing Jason Peters, long time, 39-year-old Jason Peters. I kind of been waiting for this move. Like, when are they going to try to sign somebody? I don't know what Jason Peters has left, but they had to add somebody, and Matt Nagy made it very clear, admitted that this is happening, and said he's coming in to compete at left tackle to start.
He tried to sell it as this has nothing to do with Tevin Jenkins, but
you're not making this move if Tevin Jenkins is healthy.
Exactly, and playing well at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
There's an open competition at left tackle because the guy you hope that would be is not even on the field. Well, he's on the field. He's not doing anything. We've seen him at practice, but he's just standing around, not doing much, or hasn't done anything physically since we saw him pushing up that sled up the hill. I haven't seen him do anything physical since then. Maybe he rode the bike a little bit on the sideline, but nothing too arduous. It's alarming. It's been alarming with Tevin Jenkins, but yeah, you're not making this move if you're happy with what's going on at left tackle. The guy's 40 years old.
Yeah.
How crazy how crazy actually is that he may actually be your better option than some of the guys in the roster right now.
Yeah. Do you remember when Orlando Pace, came? Orlando Pace was the best, but
young Adam Jahns was very excited about that. But
the time once you saw him out there on the field with the Bears, it was like, this is not the same guy. And now there's some history there with Juan Castillo, Jason Peters, Juan Castillo, and as part of this. But I'll be interested to see what he looks like on the field. I think the Bears had to make a move. We'll see what he looks like on the practice field, and we'll see if they can get this offensive line figured out in these next few weeks, because it's a huge storyline. Especially if they are going to make this move and go to Justin, you saw what he could do, but you also don't want to get him killed.
No. And I'll say this. You got Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, who actually played all right today against the Dolphins, I have to say. They'll give Jason Peters, they'll get him up to speed. They'll see how much good football he's got left, because they're going to be all over him. Yeah.
Respectfully, of course, those veterans. But yeah, it should be fun. Actually, that gives us something fun to watch this week as the Bears get back to Hallis Hall. No joint practices. They got to practice back against each other, and we'll see if Justin Fields can put together another big week. This was an important week, kind of a swing week in training camp in the quarterback storyline, and I think it went Justin Fields' way. So there's still 2 more games. We're still a month out, basically, a little bit less than a month out from the start of the regular season. So there's still some time here. More time for Justin Fields to come Brandy Dalton, I guess.
Yeah. I think we'll see if the Bears are considering changes, or if that door's truly open this week in practice. Because after this week, maybe you start doing a little bit game planning for the Rams. If they're throwing Fields out there with the starters more, just doing something different to test him more. We'll see how truly that door open that conversation has in terms of opening that door, or it is right now for Matt Nagy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have you covered all week. Should have another episode out Tuesday. And then Mitch Trubisky and the Bills come to town next weekend.
Are you ready?
So, are you ready? Well, we should see him. We should see him playing at some point. So that'll be fun. A little storyline for this coming week as well. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns. Post-game reaction up. Johnsy on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns. And you can read my post-game column at NBCSportsChicago.com. I wrote a little bit about a quarterback named Justin Fields, so you can check that out there. And love seeing the T-shirts out at Soldier Field today. I have to say, those of you that wore the shirts out here, got them in on Twitter. Maybe forgot to post them. You can still do that, but we like seeing them, and we'll do it again next week. Get you guys some free Obvious shirts from obviousshirts.com for those of you that do that. So good first preseason game. It was fun, I have to say. Just fun to cover and see fans back in the stands and enjoy it. We'll talk to you guys Tuesday.
See ya.